Get on the train before it leaves the station. The truth train is coming, gonna run them down, run them down.
Hey there, folks. How you doing? Okay, we're coming back at you with another highlights from MaM-a-Thon. This is going to be my chat with Dan Davies, the actor who will be playing Michael Funk in the upcoming docudrama, The $50 Million Bullet, based on the events at Eagle Nation Cycles December 5th, 2015, where Michael Funk, the owner of the shop, who was a hostage and escaped, was gunned down by a Nina police officer. And so there's some circumstances around it, as you'll see in this video. You'll see the official trailer, and it shows you some of the actual body cam footage and some things that are very much cause for concern. So here I am today with Dan Davies. I also have Jamie Hart, Sam William Henry 582 from the Discord community sitting in with me, and Sharon Sunshine also sitting in with me. All right. And so we have a little chat. We're here with Dan Davies, and Dan's been having some success on Netflix with the recent movie he made with Eric Roberts, and he'll go into that a little bit. But and Dan's from Wisconsin, so he's actually got some beer with him. It's funny. He reacts the way he reacts when he hears me actually popping my beer. I had a can that I opened while we were, live there, and he's like, "Oh, is that a beer?" And like, it was so funny. Anyway, so it's a great interview, a great talk, but it also brings a little more awareness to the Eagle Nation Cycles, Michael Funk whole situation, which I very much want to bring more awareness to, obviously. So here we go. We're going to get into it. This is my interview with Dan Davies, and we'll see you at the end. The next person we're going to be talking to is Dan Davies. He is working on getting up in here right now. So for those of you who don't know who Dan Davies is, for those of you who maybe are wondering what the heck this thing is that Eric Jose is wearing, this is a shirt that I got when I was in Wisconsin at Eagle Nation Cycles. And we are going to spend about a half an hour talking about Eagle Nation Cycles, which is just a tiny little hopping and skipping and jumping hour west of Manitowoc in Neenah, Wisconsin. And we're going to be talking about the disturbing nature of law enforcement in that area to not tell the truth and sweep things under the rug and to be generally dishonest to avoid any kind of responsibility. It's pretty sad, but the Michael Funk Eagle Nation Cycles case is one that really, really illustrates that. So as we are waiting for Dan to get in here, which I believe he's working out right now. Oh, he's okay. Yeah, hold on. Let me just resend him the link real quick. Oh, did I?
Let me guess. He's going to be a half hour now, so we got to mix it up again.
No. He's ready. He's there. I just got to get him the link. Sorry. My bad, Dan. I'm very sorry, Dan. Forgot to get you the link. I sent it to everybody but Dan. Damn it.
I done that with Paul today.
You know I don't give you much slack. I call you out on shit all the time.
There he is. Okay, and
all out of love.
Paste. Okay, so there we go. Sorry, Dan. Who's not behind the wheel here in Eric Jose Studios? Okay, all right. That should get him in here fairly quickly. He's used this before. We've all been on this before, so I've done interviews with him before. So he'll be here in a second. Now, obviously, we're going to be talking about Eagle Nation Cycles. Now, why Dan Davies is coming in is because Dan Davies is going to be playing Michael Funk, the gentleman who was shot down by Neenah police officer Craig Hopper. And Dan Davies will be playing Michael Funk. In fact, they don't even say he will be playing Michael Funk. They say he will be Michael Funk. So Dan Davies is going to be coming in here in a second to explain, a little bit of what's going on with him right now and some of the success that he's having. And here he is. He is ready to go. Let me get him added in here. Hello, Dan. How you doing, buddy?
Hello.
Hi.
Uh-oh, we don't have his audio.
Hi, Sharon.
I can hear him. Hi, Dan.
There we go.
Hi, Jamie.
How's it going, Dan?
Great. Do you have my audio?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
There you go.
I'm in Wisconsin.
Oh, you hear me? Now you're gonna make me show off.
Is that beer cheese soup in a mug?
Where's my
Yes.
mug at? Find it.
I wish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul's
looks
probably
better
stolen it.
That looks better than beer
Because
cheese soup.
Paul, I have it actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, hold on a second. Since Dan is showing his off, we got this in Australia.
Nice.
So yeah, that was the type of beer, and of course, Mr. Paul. Little bit of dishonesty.
You may have dusted it.
It needs to be a little dusty, but a little bit of dishonesty. He walked away with it, and then he didn't take it home with himself. He shoved it in my bags. That little bastard. Anyways, so how you doing there, Dan?
Good. I'm getting a little bit of an echo. Is that because I have two of these open? Good.
Oh yeah. Oh, you might want to mute the YouTube so that that's muted.
Okay.
Because that'll come through on a delay and it'll throw you off. Whoops. Hit the wrong button. All right. Technical difficulties, folks. We'll get there.
Was that from the place downstairs? Paul took that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because you were doing a live and he kept coming up with me half
Miller's
pints.
Point. Yes. Yes.
Oh, no.
My God.
Okay, there we go.
There we are.
Hi.
All right.
You're back.
So I guess, Dan, I wanted to, number one, I want to tell everybody about Michael Funk and Nina and what those officers there were up to and why there seems to be a culture of corruption in the police in this particular area of Wisconsin. But before we get to that, I wanted to talk to you about some of your recent accolades and some of your recent successes that you could explain to folks in terms of Netflix and that sort of stuff. Is he hearing me?
I think he's having hearing.
You hear me?
Sure. I have a couple of these open, so I'm still getting kind of this weird.
Right.
Oh. So, okay.
Yeah.
So you probably want to mute any YouTube windows.
There we go. Is that better? There we
Okay.
go.
All right. So can you hear me now better? There we go.
Yes. Perfect.
Sweet.
Perfect. I'm
Okay.
sorry about that, guys.
Okay. So I wanted to go ahead and have you tell everybody that some of the success that you've discovered there recently, no worries, that you've discovered there recently, actually since coming on as Michael Funk or being, brought on as Michael Funk, some of the good fortune that you've had.
Yeah. I've been, I just recently have had some real bad family news, but every day in every way gets better,
Very sorry
which is
about that.
weird. Thank you. Which is really odd to be tempered against this massive success of a trip to Jamaica, a film that I co-star with Eric Roberts. It started off as an African film, did well in Africa, did well in Europe, but then once Netflix picked it up in December, it has its own life and it's massively huge and it's really freakishly big now, which is strange because, to be honest with you, it's a shitty movie.
Wow.
So just to be very brutally honest, it's not a good movie, but it's doing well in 190 countries on Netflix, which actually blows me away. So that's some really good news, which is gonna bode well for a couple of movies that I have coming out this year, The Runners and I Dream of a Psychopomp. One of them is an action adventure, the other is a horror film. But very, very excited about $50 Million Bullet. And, with this COVID-19, there's all these delays and cancellations and postponements. And it's every single project in Hollywood is at a standstill because of it.
Gather together in groups anymore, right?
You bet, deservedly so. But it's like we're chomping at the bit to get it going. We still have David Starr and Kay Reitz and Donna Frankart and Steve Arado and got Bree Sweetac, who Sweetacular Art, who did the the poster, which I think is amazing, the $50 million poster mock-up. We've got some, and Jeff Olm, who's a Hollywood legend. So we have some really awesome people around the project. It's just now getting past this COVID-19, you know, getting all of our investors, all the ducks in a row, and hopefully start shooting sometime in 2020.
Yeah. Rachel Napstein wants to know where you're from.
Ooh. I am from Wisconsin.
Go Packers.
Go Packers. So it was a 60-degree day. It was our first one of the year. And in Wisconsin, when we don't have the shelter at home or quarantine, it's usually the first day that everybody goes out and has barbecues and drinks beers and you know, have those types of activities. So in essence, I was able to be outside for a little bit and barbecue and have a beer. So exciting. But I'm from Wisconsin.
Nice. Good to get out a wee bit, even if it's just in the garden. You know,
right. It's been hot here.
Could have been trapped in the house.
Yeah, in California, it's actually been pretty hot here the last couple days. I had to run my AC for, you know, last few hours before this broadcast. Otherwise, I'd have been in here sweating and baking. So, yeah.
Show off.
Well, it was nice and sunny here today in Scotland. We had one sunny day.
There you go. It's that one day when the girls get out in their Daisy Dukes. Right on, right on.
Yeah.
So
Sheena Easton.
There you go. All right. So one of the reasons why Dan is here is to talk, you know, we're going to be talking a little bit about $50 Million Bullet, Michael Funk, Eagle Nation, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what went down there. But I think before we get into that talk, I think I will go ahead and do a quick screen share for everybody. The $50 Million Bullet trailer, so that you guys can see. There's a couple parts in it that are footage taken from body cams that I think you all will find fairly interesting. Before we get into the discussion. So, all right, here we go. And we do that. For the $50 Million Bullet. It's basically setting
Everybody
up
hear it?
the story that they're going to tell. From what I'm seeing, they're using live real footage from, you know, the cameras on scene, essentially a lot of it. Some of their footage that they took inside Eagle Nation. Very interesting. So, and it's basically, I think, laying out the main points of the story that they're looking to hit. And it's interesting. And there's a lot of interesting clips in it. So, all right, without further ado, here we go.
Nowadays, help you? Yeah, this is Eagle Nation. You get the guy with the gun that's acting a lunatic in the shop. Okay, where are you at? 206 Main Street, Maine. 206 Main? Yeah. Okay, I would like shooting in here. You shooting it? He shot it, yes. Okay, where did he shoot? Who did he shoot? I'm in the basement. They just sent me a message to call the cops. I haven't been upstairs. Wait! Don't go over here. How many? A lot. Hey, go through my helmet.
No, sit straight.
I'm good then. Let's go.
No, you're not good. We got
No,
enough
you're
guys
not
there.
good.
No, we don't. Have enough fucking guys.
Craig, you know you can't go back there right now.
You know, you can't go back there right now.
Fucking 3 dudes or 4 dudes. I just saw the one.
2 orders.
There was nobody in there as a hostage. No, fuck that.
Hold on, it's closed in the back door right now. If you fucking run out that back door, I'm gonna fucking unload on you.
This is him. One eye. More shots fired. He goes back in the
Love you, brother, but you should not be here. It's fine. You got shot in the head. Yeah, and I went and got checked out, and they said I'm fine. I said,
No, you were told twice
fine to go back.
you weren't fine.
They checked my eyes. I didn't go unconscious. They checked my eyes. They said I do not have. Dude, you got a huge fucking lump there. Yeah, I got shot in the fucking head. What do you expect? My point is, you ended up shooting somebody. I did. I already did. Shot someone? Yeah. Killed him, dude. Him and I killed him. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. My phone with me. Where is he now? Where's the dude? He backed him out. The gun's still up there. He had one right in the headlights for one of us. And you guys got a camera on right now? You're going the entire time. Okay.
He was hiding behind the truck, so it wasn't like a. My impression was a victim trying to run away. He was.
Okay.
Temporary shooter still inside.
So there you have it, folks. $50 million bullet coming soon. Well, maybe not as soon as it was before COVID-19, folks, but you can see from that trailer, you heard me announcing some of the most important bits. You saw Hopper being ordered to stand down twice. And then when he gets to his commanding officer later, he lies to that guy and says he was cleared when he was told twice not to remain involved. So, this seems to be a recurring theme with law enforcement in this area of Wisconsin, where they just think they can do whatever the hell they want and then tell whatever story they want.
They don't get training. Just to speak very frankly, there's really only one area in Wisconsin that has a lot of capital crimes. The city of Milwaukee is a city of about the city proper is just under 1 million, but the greater metropolitan area is probably 1.5, 2 million. So it's a big city. Mm-hmm. They have crime. These smaller towns like Neenah, like Manitowoc, don't have violent crime that often. So these men don't get the training as they should get. They should be able to have training year-round in any situation. There should be accountability for their actions, and a lot of times there isn't.
Right.
And a lot of times it's always like really made me exceptionally mad was when they're researching something and they're trying to find out if the person was not 100% correct in their actions, they'll give them 2 weeks paid leave. Well, in my parlance, that's called a vacation.
Right.
You know, I don't understand that. There has to be better training. There has to be more accountability. There has to be, I don't understand it on so many levels. If you thought you would neutralize the situation by shooting at somebody that you assumed was the hostage taker and not the hostage, wouldn't that give you all the impetus then with your SWAT and your tanks then to come into the building to try to save the people, get them out as soon as possible? I just don't understand that. If they thought that they had neutralized the hostage taker who had run out and it was ML, it was one of the hostages. I don't understand that. I don't understand the fact that he was on the sidewalk for up to 45 minutes bleeding to death. There's so many unanswered questions, but I seriously think it comes down to training and preparation. I just, there has to be better training, better preparation.
Yeah, definitely. There's something needs to change. I agree. You know, I appreciate what you mean that these guys probably didn't have a whole lot of, experience with these types of situations. But then again, a SWAT team is. I mean, a SWAT team is supposed to train and is supposed to be a little bit on a little higher level than, normal Deputy Dudley. So
But Eric Jose too, and Sharon, you guys have to realize there's a difference between, even as an athlete, when I was training for competitions, the practice games and the practice competitions were nothing like the real competition on the field. They get these, situations that they train through that are virtual situations in essence, but they never get the real life training where in the city of Milwaukee or city of Chicago, and the big cities that are near Wisconsin or in Wisconsin, they get real life training every day, on a daily basis.
Right.
These small towns, Nina's 25,000, Manitowoc's about 40,000. They don't get that opportunity, and crime rates are low in these areas. I mean, this is how bad it is when you're in Wisconsin and you get pulled over for going 8 miles over the speed limit. It's just not usually one squad car. It's 4 squad cars.
Right.
And I'm like, guys, holy crap. You pull over a jaywalker, a 14-year-old jaywalker, and you guys have 2-3 squad cars. There's something wrong with that. They have to, it's just, it's an overkill on the stupid situations, and it's an underkill and then an overkill on the big situations. So,
Absolutely.
So is it open for questions at all, Eric Jose?
Yeah.
Well, I've got one for Dan. I'm kind of curious, as far from an acting standpoint, when you're acting in a movie that's just say a written role versus acting in a role that is true life, true crime, however you want to say it, but you're reenacting a real life scenario. Is it different for you?
It's what you want to do in any role that you help create, because first of all, the writer creates that role, but the writer didn't create this role. This was real life that created the role of, nature. God created ML. And so it's based on a true person and a true set of circumstances. It's different because you have a lot more leeway when you're doing a film where the characters, the construct of the writer. When you're actually talking to family members who knew ML and grew up with him and knew his foibles and his idiosyncrasies and his pros and his cons, that you want to do that justice. You want to take his life and literally put it on a pedestal, warts and all. And you want to be more truthful with it. When I'm doing a film where the character is a make-believe construct, I have a lot of leeway to create it as much or as little as I want. And according to the director's directives, if I'm within those parameters, everything is okay. But I have to stay true to the story. And number one, I have to stay true to ML to get the story across. That's a great question.
Sure. Let's see. We have
a great answer.
Yeah, it was.
Credit where credit's due.
Well, as he was talking, I was just sitting there thinking about that. The difference of, never been in acting whatsoever, but just wanting to know, is there a difference in that? It kind of made sense in my head that there might be.
Yeah. And it still comes across too as, as an actor, it still has to come from within the actor. It can never come from without, from other things. But what you do is you do your research, you talk to the people that loved him, talk to the people that didn't always like him. And I was able to talk to some people who said great things about him at Eagle Nation. We had a couple parties there and had a good time. And then they'd pull me aside and go, I got to tell you about ML. One time he screamed at me. He threw a fucking wrench at me. I think it hit my head. I'm like, what? I'm like, serious? Like, was it a big wrench? He goes, oh yeah. It might have knocked me out. I'm like, what? Just so I heard.
Did you ask him what he did wrong?
Stories about him, but you just want to do him justice and do the truth, and that's all you can do as an actor.
Right.
That was funny what Jamie said there. He said it too quiet there. Jamie said something just as you were finishing there, Dan.
Did you ask the guy what he did wrong to get a
Yeah,
wrench thrown
he
at him?
said
Because I
he
wanted
said
to know, that's why I said, going to ask him.
yeah, he basically was saying that he was part of Eagle Nation, and he was working on not a carburetor, but it was working on a motorcycle. And he said I came in. He goes, in his defense, he said, I came in, I was tired and hungover, and I was ornery and I was messing up. So to his defense, he probably had a right to do that.
He had it
And then
covered.
I said, well, holy crap. And he goes, well, I don't think he was really aiming for my head. And I'm like, okay, but I mean, that's the thing too. You have to present the character in all of its truthful manner, and I'm not going to ever gloss over anyone's idiosyncrasies or negative parts, because God designed us, and we all have our pros and cons, and you got to showcase that.
Right. I remember you said in our first couple interviews, you would always say warts and all. So,
Yeah.
So,
Well,
all
just
right.
like you had said earlier, you got to stay true to the good and bad, especially if you're doing, a documentary or, a reenactment of his life. You gotta see the bad too, because we're not all saints.
No, hell no. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is once you start, I think, delving into the backstory of the $50 million bullet, delving into his backstory, delving into also the Neenah Police Department, they're not saints either. Now, granted, most of those guys are pretty cool, amazing guys. Most of them are amazingly good police officers, but it doesn't take much to ruin only one or two apples make the whole apple barrel bad, as my drunk grandfather used to say.
Or at least or at
No,
least,
he wasn't
or at
drunk,
least taint.
actually.
Create
When it-
a taint
when
or
it-
a suspicion, right?
Yeah.
The first discussion, I think, after Eric Cozy had been out there, he did a live about it, and one of the biggest things and I've got a brother that's law enforcement, and we've always said, many in this group have said, we all know that there's great law enforcement officers out there, but there's some bad ones.
Yeah.
The biggest problem that I had when first watching the case was the fact that the officer that shot ML was celebrating, and
Yeah.
that really struck me as
Yeah. You have a commanding officer telling you twice to stand down. And I told this the last interview with Eric Jose. I said very quickly, I said, my youngest brother is also a deputy up in Brown County in Green Bay, home of the Green Bay Packers. And so I come from people that were lawgivers and lawbreakers. Actually, a lot, actually. But having said that, it's just so vitally important, to get that across, and to tell people that the vast majority of police officers are very good, but they have that thin blue line. They protect each other. There's a brotherhood that needs to be more transparent. You have to have that transparency. You have to show people, when you mess up and someone loses their life, there has to be an accountability. There has to be a comeuppance of some sort.
Right.
Just like if you created a lawnmower and the lawnmower, the blade zipped out and killed somebody, you'd be legally responsible for that. It's, the training has to be better, and there has to be more accountability.
Right. And then there's obviously, I guess, wrap up on the point of, there's also the point where these officers got into the press after Michael was shot, and they were telling people that he had been told to drop his weapon or put his hands up prior to being shot. And you guys saw that video.
Yeah.
You clearly heard him yell it like 2 or 3 seconds after he fired 19 bullets into the gentleman.
Yeah.
And so it's so ridiculously out of bounds that they would even try to suggest that it was said before.
Yeah.
And it's another one of the things that's so infuriating about this,
Even just that wee bit in the clip in and of itself, without anybody else saying stupid remarks after the fact, you know what I mean? Even just
Yeah.
that, the fact they said that after the fact,
It-
it just makes it even worse that they're making,
oh yeah.
that they're putting the statement out that was,
And Sharon, another thing too, that when you bring this up, the gentleman who created this is considered the biggest post-production god, little g, in the history of Hollywood. His name is
Right.
Jeff Olm. And Jeff Olm has worked post-production on Titanic, Spider-Man, Age of Ultron, Fifth Element, Kung Fu Panda, the Avatar. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. $20 billion of the post-production. He looked through hundreds of hours of the cam footage from the Nina PD, and that was available to the public here. Hundreds of hours to winnow it down. He said, but there's so many damning pieces in that where he just was shocked. But and that's the thing too. If you shoot somebody, unless you're shooting somebody who's an incredibly horrible person that's done incredibly horrible things, I'd high five. If Hitler, if it was 1944 and I was a sharpshooter and I got Hitler, I'd be high fiving and drinking German beer, But
or
the
something
thing
with
is, when
bomb
you don't,
detonators or something like that, something where they need to get in quick and
but the thing is, when you're celebrating and you don't even know who you shot, and chances are it's not the hostage taker, you don't talk about it. You show reverence to it. And if you have a brain injury, like I said this also too with Eric Jose, my youngest brother played football, and my youngest brother had opportunities to play in the NFL and NFL Europe and all over, but he had some injuries once in a while. And the moment he got hit in the head and had a slight trauma, they'd pull him out and say, "Oh yeah, you lost your tryout. Bye." Doctors look at him. That's football. That's not.
And he's
real
not
life.
walking about with guns.
Yeah. It's not. It's not. This is slight concussion. They pull him out and go, "Hey, you lost your tryout. See ya. Bye." This is real life. This is somebody taking a shot to the head, a bullet to the head. And for him to not listen to his commanding officer, and 2 times saying it, and then again lying, saying, "Oh, they told me I was okay." No, they didn't. They told you to stand down. And it's egregious and it's wrong on many levels. And as long as the truth is being told and the truth is equal, truth doesn't know right from wrong, but the truth is right, and the truth is just, but the truth is always correct. And and that's the one thing that we're going to get across from it, talking to the police officers, talking to the hostages, talking to everybody involved. So it's a well-rounded approach to it, because the truth is there.
Right on. Oh, well.
There's a couple of questions here.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if Dan saw them, but one of them was, where's Davies? Does the cop who shot him know about this film being made? Is one. And the other one is, does the local PD and other bigwigs know that this is coming? Kind of the same question.
Yeah. Yes. David Starr had an opportunity to talk to the PD and to talk to the gentleman who was the first shooter. And and I guess it was a great conversation. I wasn't privy to it, but for me, there's this local bar. I live like right next to Nina. I live in a city called Appleton, and Nina is, a mile away. And there's this famous bar in Appleton called Cleo's, and one of the bartender's husbands is a police officer in Appleton. Well, his best friend is that gentleman, and it's like, yeah. And so I walk into Cleo's and just want to have a couple of drinks after a meeting, and she's all like, had death, in her eyes. And I told her specifically, I said, "Shanna, all we're going to do is tell the truth. And no one should ever be afraid of the truth unless they've done something wrong." I said,
good way to put it.
Yeah. So they do understand that. Did I hear a beer open?
You did. It's don't show
heard you.
Michael don't show Michael Kelly because he'll start blubbing. But
That's a Wisconsin beer. That's a Wisconsin beer.
yeah,
couple-
it is.
Got a couple
Since
more here.
1884. Anyway.
Couple more here. One of them is how you came up with the idea on the comedy stated in Ed Glenn the musical.
Again.
Oh, Ed Gein. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's again, Ed Gein is from Wisconsin. The movie Psycho is based after Ed Gein, that Alfred Hitchcock created in 1960. There have been about 20 different films that are loosely based on, either based completely or loosely based on Ed Gein. Silence of the Lambs is one of them. And he's a world famous guy, lived in the 1950s, was a murderer, a necrophiliac, a cannibal. He would dance with these corpses and just very macabre things. But actually, what's weird about Wisconsin again, my grandfather knew the arresting sheriff who arrested Ed in 1957. So I grew up as a little kid, my grandfather and my dad telling me these stories about Ed Gein. Where I'm from, it's about 15 miles from where he was born and raised, called Plainfield, Wisconsin. And I thought, wouldn't it be funny if you did a musical on a serial killer, but did it so that people understood who he was? And the first time I pitched it, people were like, what do you mean? I said, well, he was physically abused by his dad and sexually abused by his mom. That's a recipe for disaster right there. I wanted to show almost like a psychological treatise of why people become what they become. And sometimes it's because of their parents were horrible to them. So I wanted to showcase that. I didn't want to glorify his actions. I didn't want to demean the victims. I just wanted to showcase the fact that this was a sick individual who was sick because his parents were sick.
Right.
And it did really well. And it's crazy. It's still doing well 10 years later.
Right on, right on.
I forgot to mention Ed Gein's home decorating style as well. When you were saying about his necrophile, and because you remember he did all sorts of horrible lampshades and
he made
all sorts of nut bowls and
he made women like their carcass. He made furniture and lampshades, and it's so heinous and so crazy that I thought a musical would at least give people an opportunity to look at it without all the gore too.
Macabre.
So you missed out on the stage props. You could have had great stage props. Yeah.
Well, right on. Well, I want to thank you for being here, Dan. I'm glad we got to go ahead and mention Eagle Nation a little bit here during MaM-a-Thon and give $50 million Bullet a little bit of a shout during MaM-a-Thon. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, and again, thank you guys for all the work that you guys do to shine a very harsh light on the truth is so needed. You as part of the media and getting the truth out is so damn important as we go further, that I'm proud of you guys and thank you for shining a harsh light on the truth.
Absolutely.
And so thank you guys.
Alrighty, thank you, Dan, and look forward to seeing you play Michael Funk. And best of luck to you.
Okay, guys, see you later.
See ya. Love the mug, man.
Thanks, Dan. Take care.
Good night, you guys.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
It better be available in Scotland.
Okay, so there it is, folks. That's my interview with Dan Davies. I'm very excited about the $50 million Bullet because I really think it's going to showcase more of the way that the law enforcement in that area of Wisconsin seems to feel like it can kind of write its own checks, like it can just do whatever it wants, and they may be right. It doesn't seem like anybody's really questioning it. So that's what I am hoping, that the $50 million Bullet is going to draw more attention to this trend that seems to be happening in this particular area of Wisconsin. Obviously Steve Moore has suggested that this is the judges in that area, that they are allowing this, and it's ultimately their fault. And I think he may have a point with that. So So I'm really excited about this movie, The $50 Million Bullet, and I hope you guys will all get to see it soon. Obviously, filming is going to get put off and stuff because of COVID-19 and that sort of stuff. But hopefully, as COVID-19 starts to we're pulling back lockdowns and we start to get back to kind of normal before COVID-19 started. Obviously, they will start getting the talks about the filming and the funding and everything all ironed out, and it may not come out on December 5th of this year like it was originally, as they were originally kind of were planning. So it may be a later date. But anyways, I think it's great. I think it's going to be very eye-opening for a lot of people, seeing what really happened, and then seeing how it was represented by the officers involved and stuff like that. I think it's very telling. So that's what I wanted to do here, talking with Dan Davies. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.